Java has four access modifiers starting from the most restrictive to the least restrictive. Let's go one by one. The first one is private. The private is we are assigning that to the variables or the methods. It's on the class level. So whatever variable or whatever method we are assigning a access modifier as private, it's only visible within that class. The default is that when we are not assigning any access modifier, then in that case, that method or that variable is visible within that class and within that package. The next one is protected. Protected is visible from within the class, package, and also if we are, let's say, inheriting from that class, then in that case it's also visible in the subclasses. And the least restrictive one is public. So basically in public there is no restriction. In that case it's visible within the class, package, subclass, and it's actually open to the world. So what's the point of the access modifiers? The one important point why would you use access modifier is in encapsulation. Encapsulation, what is the encapsulation? Encapsulation is, so we are restricting access to the variable or to the method by controlling access. So we can hide the internal implementation details of a class and expose only what is necessary. So what's that mean? So let's go and see an example. For example, in this example, we have an employee class, and in the employee class, we have two variables. Private variables, right? Name and the salary. So and we have a getters. How we are accessing these variables? Usually in Java, what we do is we are creating getters and the setters. For the name, we are creating a get name and the set name. And for the salary, we are creating get salary and the set salary. So what we do is in the get name, we are getting the name of that variable. And for the set name, right? So this one can be accessed by anyone. The set name also can be accessed by anyone, but we are encapsulating this logic, meaning that we are only providing access to this field name under certain condition. For example, we can put here that if the name is that we want to set as null, or if it's empty, then in that case we are just going to throw an exception on log that in the enterprise application, let's say, such as with the message such as name cannot be empty. Otherwise, we are setting the name. And for the other one, for the salary, for example, what we can do is, for example, for set salary, we are checking that the salary cannot be less than 0, right? If that's less than 0, again, we are printing that. We are logging that the invalid salary amount. Otherwise, we are setting the value. One of the most real-world example of that is used in the banking. So for example, let's say that we have a bank account class and which has a balance, and we are setting that value as a private. So this value can be accessed only by certain methods, and we are putting some restrictions under which conditions. So basically we are encapsulating this logic, meaning that we are restricting access and we are only allowing certain method to have access to it under certain condition. For example, let's say we are depositing an amount and we are checking that if the amount is less than 0, so we cannot deposit a negative amount to our balance, right? So in that case, we are throwing an exception, illegal argument exception. So in the real project, so we can create some custom exception, and we are throwing illegal argument exception. Amount must be positive, and we are adding that amount to the balance. The next one is the withdraw balance, and for the withdraw, again, we are checking that if that is less than 0, so we cannot withdraw a negative amount. In that case, we are throwing an exception again. And if the amount is more than balance, so which means that we cannot withdraw. So let's say we have in balance $90 and we want to withdraw $100. In that case, we cannot withdraw because our balance cannot go to negative, right? So in that case, again, we are throwing an exception, and otherwise we are just withdrawing from the balance. So we can add more logic here in real projects. Usually this logic is much more complicated, but the point being is that one of the advantages of the access modifiers is that it supports one of the idea of OP object-oriented programming, right? Or for the object-oriented programming, one of the important points is that the encapsulation. So in this case, we see that the encapsulation in practice, where we are creating a field, and for that field, we are only so we are encapsulating that, kind of putting that in the capsule, and we are only allowing access for that field under for certain methods under certain condition.